All right, we are back with one more episode this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Josh, let's start it off with Footloose.
Yeah, so I I was inspired to watch this movie because of our shared topic. To be completely honest, so
Okay.
after I watched that, I immediately jumped over to Footloose, and I was like, "It's a very popular thing. It's music and dance. I know the 2011 version was not received well, so I watched that one first because I wanted to try and distinguish like was it actually not good or was the fans of the old one just upset that it wasn't the same as the old one.
Mhm.
So I watched the 2011 one and then I gave it a few days and then I watched the 1984 version. The only thing I knew about these movies was it's about a town where dancing was illegal, and the 2011 one wasn't received well. And here is my review of Footloose. They both suck. They're both not good. Uh,
Oh, I
and it's a
disagree with you so
complete
much.
50% toss up on which one is better. Uh,
Okay.
so I'm going to go through it. Kevin Bacon does a better job with his character than the new one.
Mhm.
Miles Teller does a better job with his character than the old one. The girl is better in the old one. The preacher is better in the new one. The preacher's plot is better in the new one. When the preacher hits the daughter, it feels more understandable. It feels more quote unquote justified than in the new one than in the old one. The mom is better in the old one. Uh, the country line dancing scene is better in the new one by far. The restaurant scene is better in the old one. Uh, the buses in the new one was better than the tractors in the old one. The music is generally better in the old one, though I do have to say I like that they actually made Footloose country by having Blake Shelton do it, and it being a small town, it makes more logical sense. I like that version of the song, but in general, the 80s song music is better. Uh, Ren being on the football team is better in the new one. Having, like, in the old one, he's on a gymnastics team. You're telling me that this small town in southern America has a gymnastics team that he gets cut from? I don't think so. The new one does a better job of making him feel like he's an actual gymnast than Kevin Bacon, but Kevin Bacon's overall better. Pick a scene, and in one scene, the new one's better, and in one scene, the old one's better. Both of them suck.
Okay, why do you think they suck?
Uh, they're not entertaining. like, uh, the plot doesn't make any sense. It's very surface level and very anti-religion, which I hate. It's stupid. All of the dialogue sucks. A lot of the characters' motivations aren't fleshed out and thought out well. In the 80s, you can kind of excuse that a little bit because it was the 80s. A lot of 80s things were doing that with some of their characters, but this movie does it with all of their characters. Um, I don't get the enjoyment of this. I did not really enjoy it. Some of the music is good, some of the dancing is good. I don't hate either one of them. If somebody was like, I want to watch Footloose, I'd be like, okay. And I'm slightly inclined to lean towards the new one solely
Okay.
because Miles Teller is so much better and the line dancing scene is so much better.
Yeah, the
Actually,
dancing is better.
I would say, can we chop it up? Can we watch the old one version of the restaurant scene and then watch the new version of the line dancing scene and then go to the old version for the rest of it? Because like Yeah. Anyway, I really hate the new version of the restaurant scene. I think it sucks. It reminds me of the terrible 2000s movie, the dance movie where the girl learns how to crump, and you just like look at it now and you're like, that is just terrible. That's what the restaurant scene is in the new one. It is no different, and it's stupid. Um, but yeah, it's literally like a toss up on which one's better because but they both suck ultimately. So
Okay. I like the old Footloose, but there's some nostalgia there. There just is. I know that there is. I watched the new one, but honestly, mostly it was because Julia, whatever her name is, I thought was ridiculously hot, and every other guy that I knew when this came out thought that she was really hot, and the girls liked the movie. I think the point of the movies is very very stark. In the first movie, they're really not. They drink some when they go to that one place, but they're not doing anything sexual. Like the idea that you are just going to become a sexual deviant and you're going to have like 5 children, so you're immediately going to go to hell, which is kind of the point of the movie. The first one would say, no, that's not actually going to happen. There's some drinking that is involved, and no, maybe that's not something that you should do when you're a teenager. But you're not just going to instantly have a baby because you decided to go to a church dance. The second one, she's like grinding all on him, and she is an absolute hoe. And the point that he's making, where you're going to dance and then you're going to become a hoe, is actually proven in the second one, where the first one doesn't prove that point. So the story and what they're trying to say with the story, I think, is done poorly in the second movie, and it makes the movie significantly worse than the first one because it
I
misses the point of the
completely
movie.
disagree with you entirely.
I think you're out of your mind crazy, but tell me why I'm wrong, because I don't get where you're coming
Because
from at all with that. At all.
because she is that way, it justifies the law. In the first one, they're just anti-religious to be anti-religious, and it's obnoxious and annoying. And you think there's no way this whole town would agree to this. In the second one, you see them dealing with grief, using grief as a thing, and then you actually see her being that way. And you see not just her being that way, you see everyone being that way. And it's like,
But the
yeah,
point of the
it
story
makes
is
sense.
the point of the story is that you have this religious dogma where people do things that don't make a lot of sense because of the culture. Like we lived in a culture where they do a lot of things that don't make any sense, because that's one of the reasons why I like Footloose, because of the religious culture, even if it isn't logical and it's completely stupid. And you're in a little town where you can't escape from this culture that you are completely stuck in, even though there's aspects of it that are ridiculous. I know Utah towns that are like that right now. The
Not to
idea
that
that,
extent.
not to that extent, like it is an extreme version of that, but that's the point of the story.
Sort of, yeah. But again, right, you have the explanation as to why the town is actually agreeing to this, which makes it better.
Okay. I I've never not bought the old version either. Like the pastor's kid was drinking, and he gets in a car crash because he was out dancing one night, and then the pastor goes kind of crazy and wants to shut down all of this sin to protect the kids because he's an overprotective father, and he wants to protect the daughter, and the daughter wants to rebel, and um, in this one, like she's just full blown already doing it. So like, what's the point? You're not even proving that what you're doing is working in any way. And in a small town like that, I think you would get shamed into oblivion, which she doesn't in the second one. In the first one, there's no reason that she would be shamed into oblivion. She gets a little bit of shame, but she's not doing anything to the point where it's so open where everyone would just ostracize you.
I disagree with that entirely as well.
Okay.
Right? Like in that small town, why would she get shamed into oblivion?
Because she is a hoe. Like she is actually a hoe.
and you went to a school in a small town and there was actually hoes, did they get shamed into oblivion?
I wasn't really in a small town. I was in Spanish Fork, Utah. I wasn't in like
That's a pretty small town.
Delta. I wasn't
That's
in
a pretty
Delta.
small town. But either way, I like, again, it's 2011 in the new one. It's not the 1980s. Like, I can see your point that if it was still the 80s, that yeah, maybe in a small town she would be. But in 2011, right? We had gotten past the Britney Spears era. That's where we're at. Like, I don't
There is
see
some
them
truth to
being
that.
shamed into oblivion. I think there's going to be the ultra religious cult that shames her, and there's going to be a bunch of people that admire her because she looks hot and because she's brave to step out against her father, and a bunch of people who don't care. And that's what you get in the movie.
I think with how small this town is, most people would just be captured or they would leave. And I think some teenagers maybe would be like, cool, good job, you're doing it. We're going to rebel with you, blah, 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 blah. But most of the parents wouldn't be that way. If you included the internet and you like, she's fighting against the oppression, blah, 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 I could see that being a case.
It's 2011. They have the internet.
I know, but they don't include that in the movie.
They don't need to. It's 2011. It's not
Ah,
like the internet's a new thing and they have to establish that they have dial up.
I know, but if people were like,
The guy has an iPod.
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like if they included people's thoughts or there was a news program, there's this town with a preacher who's not letting their kids dance or whatever kind of a thing. But they don't include anybody outside of it. They try to make it seem very small towny like the first one. So if you're going to update the times and we're going to make that point, then you actually have to update the times, which they really don't.
They do. I think they absolutely do. I think the new one does a better job establishing why the town agrees, right? It's not just about a preacher, it's about how like their deaths affected this entire town, right? They establish it at the very beginning of the movie, which I think is better. Uh,
That I will agree. I do think that's better too.
right? And it's more of an important point about the grief of everyone dealing with all of the kids' loss, not just this one preacher who, in the old one, for whatever reason, goes to a town hall meeting and is like, "We need to outlaw dancing," and everybody else is like, "Well, you're the preacher, so okay." Like, no, that was not happening in the 80s. There's no way.
Some of those preachers, I, I agree. It's over dramatized for sure, but some preachers have quite an effect over a community.
Absolutely. I
Uh,
completely agree with you. I
okay,
completely 100% agree with you. Right? But it takes it too far with it without there
it's
being enough
exaggerated
reason.
sure,
But the
for
new
sure.
one makes it a town problem, which makes it easier to get on board with the town agreeing to the law. Right? And you even have them questioning it when they like it. The new one also shows them issuing the law, so it makes more sense, right? And like, yeah, so like I said, I think they're both bad. Like, I don't like the message that religion is bad because that's ultimately what both of these are about. um, I don't like that at all. I think though, like I said, when they're not singing and dancing, the dialogue in both of them is pretty weak. Uh, the plot points, even if we ignore the bigger ones, right? It bothered me in both movies when the douche guy, whatever his name is, shows up and starts the fight at the end. I'm like, no, you already solved that problem when she abused the daughter. When he got into the fight and stormed off, you showed us that he accepted it was over. He's not going to go to a school dance and start a fight with the new boyfriend. He very clearly is like, "Screw you, bit." Like,
I'm done.
I'm done. So it bothered me in both the movies when he showed back up. Both of them, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so stupid. When I watched the new one, I was like, I bet that doesn't even happen in the old one because that's so stupid. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. And in the new one, when Miles Teller goes all kung fu, I was like, heck yeah. And in the old one, when they start fighting, it feels more like an actual fight, I guess, where people are just rolling around in the dirt. But it's a movie fight scene from the 80s. You should feel cool. Like, yeah.
For me, I get where your problem is with like the religious hate, but that's why the essence of what the movie is about is a big deal for me between the two different movies. Because with the second one, she's is just the hoe, and her dad like has more of a point, and so it's less a it makes it so the religious aspect isn't as well thought out, in my opinion. Where in the first one, he's just being dogmatic and he's being over strict, and it teaches this lesson of like religions can go too far, and religion can just be a helpful thing. And the preacher dad at the very end is like, I was wrong. I went too far. I did the wrong thing, because he was actually just wrong instead of him being kind of right because his daughter was kind of a hoe bag. It was like, no, my daughter's not a hoe bag. She's not going to just become a drunk. She's not just going to have a baby. I was wrong on that. These kids can dance and have fun and have it just be a fun thing where they come together, blah, 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 blah. Where the other one, it's like, well, yeah, they do all, it's kind of happening. You're kind of seeing the truth. And it changes the focus on what the movie is actually about.
No, because
And I don't
both of
like
them
that.
are actually about religion bad.
No, one is about religion went too far, and that was bad, and he actually just made a mistake and is blind to the actual realities. In the other one, it's the actual realities are real, and we're just gonna go dogmatic about it and shove it down everybody's throat because this is actually happening. So we're just gonna do it.
Except that's not what it's about, right? So, like, my argument to you on that
Yeah,
is she is a hoe not because of the singing and dancing, but because of the grief of the brother. It's a lot more strung up and it makes a lot more sense. And she's vying for attention, so it makes sense.
but the whole premise of like the movie is at the very end we're going to do a dance and we're going to show them that we can be respectful and we can have fun without being what they think that we are. We can be this like wholesome but have good time. We don't have to be like straight
Which they
laced
do at the end
lolly
of the new
Mormons.
one, too.
But in the new one, it doesn't make sense. In the old one,
Yes, it
they've been the
does.
good person the entire time, so it makes sense. They're like, we've been this. This is what we are. We're gonna prove it to you. In the other one, it's like we haven't been this, so we have no legs to stand on. But believe us anyway.
Disagree, right? I just think the
Okay.
new one is more dynamic than just having that one layer, right? They make the wholeness of that one person, not everyone in the town,
It is the one
be
girl
about the
that I can remember.
everyone. Literally, there's a scene where they call her crazy and that she's going too far and she needs to stop, right?
I don't remember.
It's
I
her
really don't
friend.
remember
Her friend calls her out on her BS.
because she's going too much.
Yeah, right? Like I said, I can see good scenes on the other side and good scenes on the new one, right? To me, the new one is better in that final scene because you have everybody coming together to do the fun, innocent dance that they were asking for. But you
Yeah.
also have the preacher and the wife making amends with each other, right? I think that makes the point where that preacher is actually like the better preacher by Dennis Quaid. Specifically when the wife is like, it's almost like we're dancing, right? It's almost like he's coming to terms with like this can be a good thing too, and the impact is real. it's making a real change in the preacher's mentality rather than him just going through acceptance, right? Um, Good and bad on both. I'm defending the good one because you're taking the point of view of the bad one, or the new one and the old one. That's what I meant to say. Uh,
Yeah.
but both of these movies suck. Both of these movies, their whole message is about how terrible religion is. That's ultimately what they're both about. Uh, that's a terrible message. It's a terrible thing. Religion is good for people. Believing in something bigger than yourself is good for you. Like I
Maybe I'm
can
not making my point well, because that's the difference that I see is at the end of the first one, I can be like, oh, religion went too far, but religion can still be a good thing. You just have to put some thought into it, put some kindness into it. Don't
no.
become
The old
a
one is
dogmatic.
absolutely anti-religion.
The second, the old one seems to be anti
Religion.
over like dogmatic religion, and that you don't have to be that. The second one just seems anti-religion in general.
They're
Period.
both just anti-religion.
Okay.
Like literally, both of them are just anti-religion. Both of them are like organized religion is bad no matter what. That's what they're both about. That's the message at the end of the day. None of them show good qualities of religion. None of them show the good aspects of community and believing in each other in that way or believing in a power bigger than yourself. Neither of them do it. Both of them are like religion goes too far. I think the new one is like religion can go too far practically, and I think the old one is like religion can go too far in a more exaggerated way because it doesn't make as much sense. But they're both just both of them. You walk out of it, and I like. I guess the don't believe in, don't go to church. Religion's bad. That's what both of them say, and it's a bad thing.
Okay. So, what would you rate the two movies?
2 out of 10.
Oh, real low.
Yeah, they're both bad. Like I enjoyed the singing and dancing scenes. I enjoyed a lot of the music. Like I said,
Okay.
like that. There's a reason that the line dancing scene from the new one is as popular it is as it is. It's a great scene. There's a reason that the Let's Dance scene from the old one is as popular as it is. As movies, as things of entertainment, where I'm not just watching singing and dancing, I'm absorbing a plot and a message. They both suck. Both have terrible dialogue. Both have major plot holes. Both have major issues. Both have just they just suck. Will I watch either one of these movies all the way through ever again? No. No, I will not.
Wow. I would watch either of them, even though I've been harshing on the 11 one. I would watch either of them again. Do I? The old one has nostalgia. Like I said at the beginning, um, which will add to my wanting to watch it again. Neither of them are my favorite movies, but I don't think either of them are that bad.
I think they're both bad movies as a whole, like I said. And like my biggest knock against it is both of them are sending a message I wholeheartedly just don't believe in.
You just disagree with. That's fair.
And
That's fair.
I think is like a bad thing to teach people. Like my going out of this experience is I understand why my mom didn't let me watch that growing up.
Oh, she didn't.
Yeah, this and Grease and SpongeBob and a bunch of and Family Guy, like could not watch it. Not okay,
Hmm.
right? And walking out of it, I can totally see it. I wouldn't want my kid watching that either because being anti-God and anti-religion is not a good message. It's it's an outright evil message, and the way it's disguised so well is appalling.
Wow. Okay, guys, that is Josh's thoughts on that movie. I am curious. Do you all think there's a difference between the old one and the new one as far as the religion aspect goes? Am I crazy and they're exactly the same? Is Josh completely right? It's possible. I don't know. I'm actually gonna rewatch the new one because I haven't watched it since high school.
I predict
Maybe we'll
that
give it a go.
everybody's going to agree with you.
Okay.
That's what I predict. Everybody's going to agree with you because people who like Footloose watched the old one first. There's some nostalgia there. There's some rose-colored glasses, and there's comparing, right? And I think it's a good
Yeah,
thing that I watched the 2011 one first to
I
give
agree.
me that point of view. But like scene for scene, 50-50. Overall plot, story, writing, they both suck. They're both got issues. They're both bad. And I don't like it. But yeah, I think anybody who responds to this is going to say, "Oh, Josh is insane," because that's the
Guys,
mentality of the reviews.
try watching it with open eyes again and let us know what you think. I'm genuinely curious. I'm going to watch the new one again and try to put my nostalgia bias away and see if I still think that way. Anyway, with that, let me go to my topic, The Long Game, which you've watched also. Uh my first note is this movie makes me feel lazy. These kids, just because they want a golf course, decide to build a golf course on a field, and they're working like full-time jobs in fields and going to school. And I'm like, uh, sometimes I just don't want to mow the lawn. And they're like, by hand, mowing this lawn to the right length so that they can putt. I don't know. I feel like a lazy piece of crap.
I did not
I
feel that way because it's old times.
I
They
know.
didn't have modern things to make being at home comfortable.
Yeah, they just had to go out, right? Home was
Yeah,
miserable. Yeah.
you don't. Did you not have that when you were like 8, 9?
What do you mean?
Just like if you were home, you had nothing to do, you were utterly bored, so you might as well go outside and dig a trench.
No, I had an Xbox. I had a
Okay,
PC. I had a PC from the time I was like 4,
okay,
3.
good for you. We had a computer too. It was not that great. Did not have all those the modern things. Like I grew up playing Age of Empires too, but there was a point in my life where I like had a big hill in my backyard, and we dug a hole in it for fun, rid sleds down it in the winter for fun, and in the spring we had dirt clod wars where we were
For
throwing
fun.
dirt clods at each other for fun. Like that didn't make me feel lazy. It's just like that's what they did at the time. Like if I was alive back then, I think I would do the same thing.
Maybe I would have. I don't know. It did make me feel lazy. But that just kind of frames out the start of this show. You have these kids who are like, they are golfers, and you have a golf coach that really wants to be accepted into this country club, and he wants to change the perspective of everybody on Mexicans playing golf, because golf is a white person's game. And I think this race dynamic in shows is hard to pull off and not come off as cheesy or as pandering. And I think this show does a pretty good job of it, to be completely honest, of feeling pretty authentic.
It's a real
Um,
story, so I would hope so.
Even some of the real stories, it feels like it's just pandering, and this one felt more like natural. This is just what was happening. Some of the lines didn't feel like we just need to point across how bad this was. Kind of like this is us. um, and it makes for a pretty good show. You have this one Mexican kid who's like the best star player on the team, and he is very much reacting to his dad, and his dad constantly telling him they're going to laugh at you, they're going to belittle you. And I'm interested if that actually was really happening for this kid, because my thought is, and I'm not in that position, right? So I don't completely understand it. But my thought is, wouldn't being really excellent at what these guys can do just prove them wrong? And wouldn't you want to shove it down their throat instead of continually like cleaning their shoes and mowing their lawn? That's kind of my thought, but I'm not in his position. I don't completely understand it. Gonna be honest. You were shaking your head. Why were you shaking your head?
Because that really did happen, and it wasn't a stand up to them kind of a thing. It was a protective, like, this is my son, and no matter how good my son is, when he screws up, not if, when, he'll
Okay.
never live it down, and it will be more of a detriment than a positive. And it's
Then just
also
being in the
just
shadows all the
golf,
time.
right? It's not.
Yeah.
He's not making a stand. He's not standing up to anybody. The outcome of him playing golf and doing well changes nothing. It's not like football, which is a big thing that everybody's going to watch. And it's not like marching with Martin Luther King Jr. So to him, his dad doesn't know golf, understand golf.
It's just
He's
some
saying
stupid,
there's
silly
no
game.
benefit. It's a silly game, and it's just going to be damaging to my kid. Right? Like, you didn't have any problem when watching the greatest game ever played.
No.
And that's the same thing. It's just instead of being brown and being black and being white, it's being rich and being poor. But it's the same thing, and the dad does the same thing. But you didn't have a problem there. You don't have a problem with it in Remember the Titans when it is black and white. And the dad said, if you do this, if you hire this coach, I'm pulling my son out. And you have no problem when uh, the coach goes to the black kids and says, if you react poorly, you have to raise. It's the same thing. It's the same perspective, but you didn't have a problem with it there either.
You're right. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Good point. Um, I can see. Yeah. I anyway. I liked this movie. I liked where it was going. And you're right. I didn't really have a problem with that in the other movies. I don't know why, because it is kind of the same problem over and over and over again
It's
in all.
presented in a different way,
It
and
is
it is
presented
different,
differently,
right?
but it's
Because with the
very. It's
greatest
the
game,
same
you're
thing.
you're actually proving something by having somebody poor play, and remember the Titans. You are proving to an entire town, right? There's an outcome there
That
that is very clear. Whereas with golf, you don't necessarily have that clear outline.
true.
So it gives you that different perspective. Like, I'm not saying they're exactly the same. There is some slight differences, but like
But it's the
in
same kind of
general,
message.
right? Like the dad saying, or the father figure of the show giving that message of like, you shouldn't do this. It's just going to hurt you. It's different.
Maybe
And in
it's the
this one,
fact
they
that he
don't do
doesn't.
it from like, it's not necessarily protective in this one as it is in the
Yeah,
other one too.
they don't show it as the protective aspect with the father. He's not. Doesn't seem like he's looking out for him. It seems very fearful.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that could be it. I don't know. Um, the biggest thing I didn't like about this movie is the girl that the main guy dates, because she's attractive, but the entire movie she's just irritating. I don't like this character. She's like playing hard to get constantly all the time for no real reason that I can figure it out, and she's just an annoying character. It would be better if she was not in it. She doesn't help the plot. She's just a waste of time. Um, I don't like the character at all. The dad is interesting. I do think that the point of acting more in fear instead of acting in love could have been portrayed better. It's a good point. I think about that during the movie. I love the Mexican guy who's in the cage and he goes and collects the balls. One, I've never thought about collecting the balls before modern tech. I've never thought about that. I've never considered it. And just some Mexican guy going out there with a cage on while other people are trying to hit him with balls, because that is definitely going to happen. I found kind of sadly funny, but I probably shouldn't have found that funny,
It was meant
and
to be
really
funny.
interesting at the same time. Um, I like the aspect of really trying hard. I like the aspect of fighting and taking any opportunity that you have. Like, they sneak into this club at night so they have an opportunity to be able to play. I think that's really cool. You 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 take the chances that you have when you're in a lower situation. I never feel like these kids take themselves as a victim. They know that they're in kind of a rougher situation. They know that it's not fair. They don't complain about it for the most part. They just go about trying to do the best they can, which I really loved. It didn't ever feel pandering. It just felt like it was hopeful and like yeah, the odds are stacked against you, but let's go. Let's do this. I liked the golf. I liked the way that they dealt with the rage of the main kid who's the best and how he like has a character change where he realizes he doesn't have to spark rage to all these people that insult him. He can just be better than that. I liked that message. And it leaves me with overall enjoying this movie.
How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Um for me like a 6.8 right around there, just below a 7.
Okay. While we've been talking about this. I brought up two other sports movies. How would you rank those three sports movies?
Remember the Titans to me is like a solid 8. I know a lot of people have it a lot higher. And the love of the game, is that what the other one's
Greatest
called?
game ever played.
Greatest game I've ever played. I really like that movie. Probably also just below an 8, 7,
So you would go Remember the
7.
Titans, greatest game, then this one,
Yeah,
if you were to put them in order. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, my review of this movie is it gives off. I don't have any big problems with it. Uh, it's just like the directors and the actors and everything in it kind of gives the air of we're telling this story to tell it, not because anybody actually cares or there's a passion to tell it, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, that's fair. I can see where you're coming from.
Whereas, like, Remember the Titans, it was like you could tell that everybody making this movie was so passionate about telling the story. And those actors absolutely took that by the reins and they absolutely wanted to give it all for their characters. And in this one, it's kind of like, everybody's there. Everybody does a fine job. I don't have any nitpicks on this movie. I don't have any big problems with that. It just wasn't that enjoyable because I don't feel like that passion was there for this piece of art. Um, so, like, for me, I would put Remember the Titans as the best.
It's
And
probably like a 9 for you or something.
yeah, it's so good. Greatest game ever played is really close to it. It's another 9 out of 10.
It's an amazing
And the
movie.
only reason I put Remember the Titans above it is because of nostalgic factor. Like I grew up watching Remember the Titans. I watched Greatest Game Ever Played for the first time when I was like 16, and then
It's a great movie.
like twice since. But like on an objective level, they're both absolutely phenomenal. And this one, I don't think I'll ever turn on again. It was fine. It was good. Everybody did a fine job. Like I said, no nitpicks, some laughs, some good stuff, some boring parts. Okay, moving on. That's kind of my error with it.
All right, fair enough. With that, we'll go to our last topic, our shared topic, Singing in the Rain. Um, I'm just gonna say that I love this musical. I have some problems with it, but I love this musical. You give your full thoughts, and I'll comment.
This became instantly one of my all-time favorite musicals. It is so charming, so sweet. The
Yep.
music is great. The performances were great. The set pieces were great. Uh, as much as I loved this film, the whole time I kept seeing Ewan McGregor as the main guy. Like they have such a good, similar feel and performance
Absolutely,
that the whole time I was like, man, I would love to see Ewan McGregor and like Dule Hill play the two main guys.
that'd be awesome.
Like, sign me up. Heck yeah, that would be awesome. Uh, I really, I loved at the end and thought it was really funny how the Ewan McGregor s character was like, "Let me explain this final scene to you," and then they go through an acid trip, and it's really just like 20 scenes, not one scene, and then they walk out of it, and the guy's like, "I'll have to see it before I know." I'm like, uh, if somebody was explaining that to me, I'd be like, "What are you on?" Like, no, this is not where we're gonna take this thing. Like, nope, not today. Uh, but yeah, I loved the music. I loved the performances. I love like it is just so good. It's It's feel good. It's a hopeful message. It's great. Like I said, instantly one of my favorites.
That's how I was too. I still love this movie. My one major downside is that 20 scenes of like psychedelic nonsense that doesn't fit into the movie at all. It doesn't mesh with the movie in any way, shape, or form. And the movie would be better in every single way if those scenes were cut out. Every way. Like the movie should not have those scenes. It would be, I wrote that it would basically be perfect if you would have gotten rid of those scenes. Um, I love the dancing. I love how charming it is. I love the acting. The main girl is Carrie Fisher's mom, which I think is super cool. It's just really good. The "Make 'Em Laugh" song. The guy danced so hard it put him in the hospital for a week, and he just kept going. He like broke ribs and stuff while he was doing this scene, but he was just that stuck and captured on doing that good of a job. That's incredible. That's so cool. The the message is good. I love the aspect of like old Hollywood and actors having to transition from not having to speak to having to learn to speak. It was just that's a cool idea. That's a it's a cool captivating story. I genuinely loved it. I would have given it like a 9.5 before I got to that awful psychedelic scene that is terrible that drops it all the way down to an 8 for me because it does not belong in the movie. Everything
I
else is fantastic.
I'm not that anti that scene. Uh,
I will never watch that scene again. I will absolutely skip it every time I watch this movie for the rest of my life.
it was weird, but I think if you take it on its own, those actors do a great job with it. Right? The
It's just
music is
terrible.
good. Uh, it absolutely doesn't fit into the greater plot. I would be very interested to see like what Hale Center Theater would do with it.
Me too.
Um,
It came 2 years ago, and I wish I would have went.
yeah, and I heard that they did actual water on the stage, and
They
I wish I
did.
would have gone to. That just sounds super cool. But like, it's ultimately just a dumb joke, right? And I'm not mad at the dumb joke. I think it's funny. Was it
Oh no,
long
it's
and dragged
so
out and weird?
terrible.
Absolutely. But it was just a dumb joke. So like I don't have that disdain for it as much as you do. I don't think I'm ever just gonna like sit down and necessarily just watch this one as much as I
Really,
might like turn it on and like listen to it and cook or clean or
whatever.
mess around on my phone or whatever. Uh, but like that is high praise for a musical for me,
Okay.
right? Like I listened to Les Mis, the 25th anniversary. That's about it. I love Into the Woods, but I don't just like turn on Into the Woods.
Do you turn on Dear Evan Hansen ever?
No, that one's way too serious. It only has one funny song, and it is a funny song, and so like you kind of still have to just be in the mood for a funny song.
Yeah.
Uh, Dear Evan Hansen is super powerful and it's great, and I love it. The stage version, I want to stress that the stage version. Uh, but yeah, like this one, I would have no problem just be like, let me turn on Singing on the Rain, let me clean up my room, let me do this thing, whatever, and just enjoy the positivity. Like, there's no like big serious theme of this one that's like a big downer. It's all just like, I feel good watching this. Oh my gosh, look at their talent. Isn't that amazing? What a good, hopeful story. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's so like all the characters are believable and real, and you have that historical aspect, and the oldness of it adds to that where
It
you,
does.
you
It adds
believe
some
it,
charm.
and it's just like just enjoy it, and it's great. And like I said, like the only reason I would want this remade is if they got Ewan McGregor and Dule Hill, because those are the only two actors I'd be like, okay, I want to see that. Otherwise, I'd be like, no, not necessary. The old one is perfect the way it is. with that one weird scene. Watch it or don't. I don't really care. Uh, but it's great.
I think the oldness adds a lot of charm to this movie, and it would be cool to see Ewan McGregor in the role because I can see your point of view. But I kind of don't want this remade because the old movies don't always, the charm doesn't always add to the movie. And this one, it added a lot to me, and you won't recapture that. You just won't. I will absolutely rewatch this for sure. I'll just skip that terrible scene. That's all.
I wouldn't go so far as to say you won't recapture it because there's a lot of things you can do to recapture it. I don't want it remade. I'm not saying remake it. I'm saying if you're remaking it, then you better cast Ewan McGregor and Dule Hill.
Let's
Because
say they
otherwise,
decide,
I'm not going to watch it.
those two decide to do a stage version of it in Broadway. It's coming back to Broadway. How much do you spend for those tickets?
As much as I can afford.
Okay.
Right? Like, it's instantly one of my all time favorites, right? Like,
Yeah, me too.
recency bias, heavy warning that there's recency bias, right? I've got my favorite. One of my favorites is Into the Woods because it introduced me to musicals. It's what brought me in. It is the one that I give credit for me being able to say, I like musicals. I went and saw it at Snow College. The theater production did a phenomenal job. It gave me another chance for it, right? I love Les Mis because let's be honest, it is just great.
Yep.
Not the movie version, but the 25th anniversary with actual good singers. That one is phenomenal.
It's amazing.
And Dear Evan Hansen has a very personal connection because of the depression and the life aspect to it, right? And then you've got this one, and it's hope and positivity and perseverance and all those good things that I stand for, on top of being very entertaining with really great music and the charm. If I had to put them in an order, I'm gonna go Les Mis 25th Anniversary is my all-time favorite.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go Singing in the Rain.
Wow.
Then Dear Evan Hansen. Then Into the Woods last.
I was not expecting that. Wow. That's awesome.
It's just great. Like I don't hate that scene. If I had to give this one a score, it's gonna be knocked down from a 9.5 to a 9 out of 10
Okay.
for that one scene. And like I said, I didn't love that scene either. It didn't fit the tone of the movie. The entire time I was like, what is even going on? Like, we didn't know enough about the movie ahead of time for this to make any sense. And it's essentially just a short plot about how women suck sometimes. And you're like,
And also,
okay.
it doesn't make sense for the story that they're trying to tell in the movie either. Like, it doesn't fit anywhere. It
Yeah.
is nonsense.
Yeah, it's just weird. And anyway, so then they pull out to the, not movie inside the movie. And it's just a dumb joke. And you go, ha ha, okay, moving on. And then you have that killer performance at the end. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely killer performance. Um, and so, like, yeah, like if I were watching it, like I said, because I don't think I'll be just like actively sitting and watching this one, I'm not going to skip the scene because I'm not going to be paying active enough attention to it to just sit there and be like, fast forward 10 minutes while they get this over with. Uh, but it's like, okay, you're going to watch it, you're going to skip it. I don't have any problem with that. If somebody else was watching it and they said, I'm not going to skip that scene, it's a great joke. I'm like, okay, great. Fine.
Yeah, but would that joke also work if that scene just wasn't there? It like goes to black and he's like,
No,
you don't think it would work?
no. If
I
the
think it
if
would
the
still
direct
work.
if the producer guy was like, I don't know. I'll have to see it to believe it. You wouldn't have any context about the weirdness that was just jump. Now, could you insert the Willy Wonka tunnel scene, and that one would be 2 minutes, and the joke would still land? Yes, it would. But so like that scene itself is not necessary. But understanding the weirdness of
Something has to be
everything,
there.
something has to be there for the joke to land. And if you skip it, you still know that that's what it's about. So,
So,
yeah.
always skip it. Don't skip. Cool. Well, guys, that is Singing in the Rain. That is our final topic this week. We appreciate you guys watching, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. If you have anything for us to watch, let us know. We really do appreciate all of your comments, for real. Josh, every single time he gets one, sends me it, and it's just like so happy. We love you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for connecting. Thanks for everything. See you guys. Bye.